Okay, this video shows you how to service an undercarriage or change out an undercarriage on a dozer, specifically a Komatsu 51 EXI or a 61. They're going to be very similar with this low track setup. So what we got here is I've already taken the rails and the track pads off. What you're going to look for is a master link. And I can show you this master link is held on by 4 of these longer bolts that are actually just the grouser pad. And they kind of have an alligator jaw that sits on this master link. And what you do is you find the master link. It's going to have a solid piece in it where you can see an alligator looking jaw in the master link on the chain. So as you undo these 4 bolts, the chain can come apart. So I would actually recommend going right here. As you undo your master link, you can paint them or whatever. Elevate your dozer, get your dozer up. This dozer is sitting on some jacks stands. Make sure it's secured. Put your blade down. Also your rippers, if you have any rippers, put them down. So you can see I've got mine up underneath there. So as you undo your master link, it's going to want to fall forward. As it falls forward, just make sure you're standing out of the way and you undo it right here. You could go into here and release the grease. You could do it that way as well and relieve the grease on it, but it's still going to want to roll forward, or it just sags and drops down right there. So as you undo that, be careful. This could be under pressure and pop that track off. So as you pop that track off, you're going to have a track laid on here like this. And what I would recommend doing is getting in your dozer and tracking it back and actually walking that track off itself with the elevation, with it elevated, and it'll come right off. So after you do that, we got this side right here. These sprockets come in 3. So here's a section of that sprocket. They call them teeth if you're looking for them in the parts section. And that's so in case you get a broken tooth or something like that on your sprocket, you can actually just go in and change this section out. It has 3 teeth on the sprocket. So if you have a chipped tooth or whatever, you can go through and replace that. So the other thing too is these rollers. How these rollers are held on is by 2 bolts in this clamp. So I've got these ones right here that are broke free. You're just gonna have 2 bolts that run through here. You see, as you undo those carrier rollers here, when you start wearing out, what you're going to look for is this roll. You can see that where that has worn into these. This dozer has about 6,000 hours on it. The undercarriage doesn't look actually too bad for the amount of hours as it has. And again, that'll come into play with your operators that have been running it. If you got guys that have a lot of track slippage while they're pushing, they'll wear your undercarriage out faster. Or even if you got the wider grouser pads that are set up for marsh area, they'll wear out quicker as well. So why we're changing these right here is if I was to put a brand new rail or chains on this track, they call them track rails. If you look and see that roll inside of there and you're dealing with a brand new track rail, use this as a demonstration. This right here would be a track rail, and if it was flat, it would actually start wearing into your track rail. Now this is just what all the rollers are going to look like underneath the bottom of the frame. It'll wear into your track rail and actually start eating the track rail apart, and you won't get a longer life out of them. So they're like gears. If you've ever changed any gears on anything, you change them together so that they wear and break in evenly. And you can kind of see it as well right here on this idler. You can see that dished. This should be squared. You can see it kind of grooved in the middle. The other thing too is we're going to be changing this idler. I would recommend using OEM parts for these eye machines. One of the reasons why is they are designed, set up for a smooth transition on this roller, and as they roll, it does not have as much vibration on that blade. Now you can get washboarding with aftermarket rollers and chains and all that on intelligent dozers. If it's not an intelligent dozer, if it does not have GPS and is not running GPS on it, I'd recommend just using an aftermarket. I personally have not had any good experience with aftermarkets. I'll change a roller out, and in about a year I'll be changing a new one. It's like I was saying, you're getting 6,000 hours out of these ones just fine, and they're actually halfway decent still at 6,000 hours. So I would recommend using OEM. They are a little bit more money. I had the quotes done on aftermarket versus OEM, and the difference was about 3 to 5 grand. For OEM parts, 100% to do this whole undercarriage is right at around 30 grand. OEM was sitting at about 25 to 26 depending upon freight. So I would just recommend, if you can afford it, going with OEM. Again, I've had a lot of rollers fell while I'm in the field that are aftermarket, and I wish I would have just put OEM on originally to begin with. So that's your undercarriage, some things to look for. This idler, I'll show you what's doing and why we're going to change it, and why I'd recommend changing it with your rel and sprocket. There should be no side-to-side movements in this at all, and it's kind of tough to see, but what you're seeing here, if I take that bar, it is actually moving side to side, and it's moving about a 1/16 of an inch side to side this way. And what that can create is this can blow apart the actual bearings inside this roller, and then you're left out in the field with a broken down dozer. So it's all better to do your undercarriage all at once, in my opinion, if you can afford it. Again, it's off of how much parts are versus the availability of them, where your conditions are. Now, if this was a pit dozer and I was running in a pit all the time and it had high hours on it, and it wasn't my main production machine, then I would probably look at doing aftermarket. But again, where you're needing a dozer is generally you're using it every day, so I would recommend OEM. Just through the whole board, to stay OEM as much as possible if you can. Yeah, go ahead. I will create some more videos as I get further along on some easier ways to change out these rollers on the bottom here. You got to get up underneath that track frame, almost on the inside of that track rail, and undo. There's going to be 4 bolts, so it'll be a bolt here, and then 2 more on the other side of that rollers. That can be challenging, as well as taking off these chain guards or debris guards. This one right here comes with the that's part of the actual track frame itself. These ones right here are bolted on, and if you get any that are bent, it might be hard. This one's bent, it's been flared up. It might be kind of hard to get to them bolts up underneath there. So stay tuned, and I'll give you some more videos as I continue to do the undercarriage on this dozer. Thanks. Like and subscribe. Thanks.